Welcome to another installment of European Foods. Now, these foods are sold around the world, and as you'll find them in most of Europe, because these are manufactured in Germany, which sells food all over. A few people understand that 5% of German exports are food related. This apparently has a label that got messed up. Snack day is a typical term. You'll see that a lot of these, quote, European foods use English words because these things are sold. And you got to remember that German food stores are all over the world. They're in England, France, and the United States even has Aldi, which is a German food store. And, of course, Trader Joe's, which the Germans have owned since 1979. And that's why you see a lot of German products there and a lot of similar type products. So what they tend to do is make foods inexpensively in Germany. So food costs in Germany are a little lower. And as such, they are able to sell the foods internationally, as you'll find Aldi, Lidl, Riva, Pennies, etc. These are all, there's 3 food stores in general in Germany that make all the foods or distribute them. And these are the places that people go to. Aldi, of course, and Lidl and these Pennies are considered discount food stores, but it's all the same companies make everything. This dip is labeled under several brands in different stores, but it's all made by the same people, as is everything in Germany, because it's a small country, which is small population. So you'll find this, which was bought in, you'll see the label there, it was bought in Lidl, but you'll find this in Pennies and other discount markets and in Aldi. Well, they're all the same. That's the rig of German business, is where it's 1,200 companies own everything and distribute these things around the world. So there's no way that you can come in and open a store without being part of the German system. This was proven by Walmart, who stayed in Germany for 10 years and lost $100 million because they were not allowed to prosper. And they pushed them out because they didn't want them coming in here and taking over German-owned businesses. So these are probably, this exact same item is found in Trader Joe's and other places, but we'll show you what this. Now, this is considered your typical American cheese dip with tortilla chips. Now, European foods are fairly identical to American ones. The only real difference is that Europeans tend not to use artificial colors as much, particularly ones that are chemical in base. But other than that, they have the same preservatives, they go through the same processes, and if the Germans want to sell food all over the world, well, they're going to have to process it heavily like Americans do. Now you can see the cheese they use here is a little bit different at a Damer. And as you can see, the main ingredient is water, like in so many things, 10% cheese. Then we go into all these other things. You'll see the different ingredients here. You'll see that there are preservatives in here. There's Farbstoff is color. Since it doesn't have a number, it may be a natural color. It has all the other things. You'll see that it's got these different additives, Zangum, stabilizers, all the stuff that everybody else has. They tend to use a little less salt and sugar as well, but not that much. As I said, the main thing you don't see as much, you'll see a preservative here as well. That's a preservative. So, I mean, they got all the stuff in there. Rapsol, that's an oil. And, of course, this is what the different ingredients, the milk, etc. So you get an idea here. So you're not really getting that much less preservatives in it. Their meats have sugar and all sodium nitrites and nitrates. And you'll find all that in there. As I said, what they don't do is tend to add certain colors. At least some foods don't. So let's take a look at this. This is a typical, these sauces aren't any good in America either. These are kind of crap sauce. But this isn't made from what we would consider American, but it's pasteurized milk. cheese culture, all this kind of stuff. So this, as a base, is a real cheese. Now, American cheese that a lot of this stuff is based on is, I don't know, American cheese isn't really even cheese. Let's pop that open and take a look at it. Here's what it looks like. And, of course, you can heat this stuff up. Americans usually heat this up. It's in a nice glass container. Now, one nice thing is this is 300 grams. It's a fairly big container here. This is, the pricing is very good. This is only 99 cents. The entire bag of chips is only 99 cents, which is $1.25 in American money. So the prices are much better. You know, potato chips in America, from what I remember, were outrageously expensive. And let's open up these chips here. And again, it's a typical chip bag. It's a good-sized bag here. Let's open it up and look at it. And this is, again, only $1.25 that you would pay for it in U.S. dollars. You got to remember the U.S. dollar is 25% more. Huge amount over the euro. So if you buy €1, it's going to cost you anywhere from $1.25 to $1.30. These actually are cheese. Let's see what this says. These are Nacho cheese, and again, you can see the English put in there, and the term tortilla. All of this is because they're selling these in all over the world, particularly in England. They're selling it in America, and they're selling it everywhere. But so instead of the labeling things in different languages, they're all over Europe, these discount or food stores, really taking business away from stores like Tesco and other places that are notorious for there. So, as you can see, this kind of looks goofy. There are, you can see there's actually peppers in there. And let's take a taste of this. To see how it goes. Actually, you know, it's not too bad, particularly with the peppers that are in here. This is called spicy cheese. So it has those peppers in there, and it makes it taste pretty good. This is better than I remember from the last one I got. I don't know if they've improved this formula or not. Now, if you heated this up and mixed it a little, it would be a little more viscous instead of looking like this. Actually, it looks pretty good. The flavor is good. These potato chips, or tortilla chips, are, again, nacho, which means there's a little bit of added pepper to it. You can see what they typically look like. And it's kind of a classic tortilla chip. And again, this is all copied from America. You got to remember that the Germans have been in Trader Joe's for over 40 years, copying American techniques, watching everything, which is what Germans do. They really copy everything. They copy candy bars, you name it, they copy it. And of course, as I said, that was their plan. And since there are families in Germany that run everything for hundreds of years, and these are the only people that really do anything, it passes from one generation to another. And this is how it works. You know, companies like Adidas, which has got Abidos in Europe, well, his brother went out and said, well, we had a fight. He started Puma. Well, he didn't have a fight. They just started another company. Aldi is a discount food store. Of course, they had brothers run that. It's turned over to family now. This is a game they play and how they work it. So people have to understand that. So, as I said, these are typical. And there's one thing nice about chips and stuff that I've found so far in Europe is that they're inexpensive. I remember these being $3-4 a bag in the United States for what's some of the cheapest products you can possibly get, which is actually potato chips or corn chips. I mean, the meal to make these is virtually so cheap, it's unbelievable. So it's a great price to get a big bag like this for only $1, to get the dip for only $1. And as I said, it's basic potato chips quality and everything else. They have copied the quality of America in particular, which makes fantastic snacks like this. And has been able to do that. I mean, it's a pretty easy process for any kind of manufacturing. So these are basically excellent quality. As I said, you may find brands made by this or labeled like this. It's unfortunate that the quality you tend to get at Trader Joe's in the United States, you can't really find in Germany, which is kind of odd, but they have turned every store of theirs, the Aldi company that owns it, into a Trader Joe's. They all look like Trader Joe's now. They're all formulated that way and set up to function like that. So we will continue this. So this is something that gets a high mark. A lot of certain other prepared foods, like the prepared hamburgers and other things, which Europeans seem to have a terrible time with, taste terrible. But we'll get into those too. We're going to be showing all these different foods. And as I said, these show up all around the world and particularly all over Europe. And, you know, if you're going to move to Europe and particularly to Germany or England, this is the food you're going to see. Or Ireland as well. Aldi, well, they're everywhere in Europe. You go to Romania, you're going to find Lidl, Aldi, and these other stores as well. So, and if you're coming from America, the first thing you're going to run into is what are the foods? How is it different than you in America grew up with, or the foods that you can access? And the easy answer to that is that there's very little difference. And I have not lived in England, but there's very little difference between supermarkets in England, Germany, and most of Europe than there is with America. They use the same foods. I should say they eat the same foods. There are some variances, but a supermarket is very, very similar. The only thing different is that supermarkets, at least these smaller ones in most of Europe, tend to be more of a 5 and 10 cent. You have products mixed in with the foods. So they have batteries, they have other things that are kind of in the same aisles. Now, bigger supermarkets do this with separate aisles, but in terms of your average little store, they tend to keep the products down weekly. They have different products in terms of this is French month, this is American week, week. This actually is Spanish week, and then there's Italian week. So they bring in foods which are kind of amusing and almost identical each week, and they just slap a new box on there and put a little sauce on it. But, if you're moving to a place, the first thing that hits you is the difference in the foods, because these are comfort items to you. And what is all this stuff? The labels look different, etc., but they really don't. I mean, if you're American and you see nacho cheese flakes, nacho cheese tortillas, well, that ain't too foreign, is it? So, and this is very typical. As you said, the world is getting very much into that. And from what I can see, particularly the European diet and the American diet isn't any different. You can eat as good or as junky as you want. Now, as everyone would probably suspect, the Germans have a lot of pork products, but you don't have to. They have turkey, they have chicken, they have fish, and of course they have beef. And ground beef is pretty inexpensive. Beef steaks are expensive. Beef is expensive. And what they do is that instead of you going out and getting a beef steak to barbecue, they generally have big pork steaks to barbecue, etc. So this is the main difference, but you don't have to eat pork. They have everything else in large quantities. So they're not pork kraut eating people in general. It's totally up to your diet and what you want to do. They do like their cold cuts as well. And so cold cuts, pork, etc. certainly are there in a large amount. But you can, if you want to eat fish, you certainly can. You can even eat vegetarian, and there are lots of meat substitutes popping up now recently, and that's all part of the process. So that's what you would be adjusting to, or really not even adjusting at all. If you're a hamburger eater, there's plenty of hamburgers. If you want to eat turkey, there's turkey, chicken, you name it. Diets are not much different. Almost identical. And in some aspects, and as I said, you've got this large bag. And just to recap, I mean, that's only $1.25. and that's $1.25. And these, for European portions, these are big. Your average European portion, which I'll talk about in the future, is a liter, otherwise known as a quart. But we'll go over all that in the future. Welcome to a little bit of Europe.